Warning: the following live broadcast may contain loud, obnoxious, shrill, and alarming noises that might be considered disturbing, if not outright uncomfortable to listen to, especially if you are wearing headphones. I share my office space with an African gray parrot and two parakeets, and I have no control over their behavior while I am live streaming. Unlike my regular videos, where I have the opportunity to edit them out as best as I can. And even then, it's a little difficult. If you are sensitive to loud, surprising background noises, I recommend either not turning your volume up too loud or watching my edited pre-recorded videos instead. Viewer discretion is advised. Oh my goodness. So hello everybody. I don't know. Sometimes I think that I should change that intro, that it's a little like, I don't know, too over the top or something. But I was really traumatized by my first attempts at live streaming, or even just recording videos with him in the background. And people would be so annoyed in the comments that I would have like either a smoke detector, or there was like so much of these noises in the background until I told them it was a parrot. That is like, look, it's a parrot. I can't help it. He likes those noises. And then once I told him it was a parrot, there was like, oh my God, it's so cute, and blah, blah, blah. Like all of a sudden, the exact same noises they were up my ass about being annoying now was like the cutest thing in the world because, oh, it was a parrot doing it. It's not an actual smoke detector that I needed to change batteries in or something. So I don't know. Maybe I should just leave it. Who knows? So let me see who's joining me today. Hello, Afrain. Hello. And of course, here's Lou and Joseph. Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Egoworks DRAWStream. So I know that I said that I was going to do like every alternate weekend, but I didn't realize that next Wednesday I had plans already, and I thought that I had everything like kind of scheduled correctly. So I had to switch it. So instead of just like canceling, I figured let me move the stream up to this week. So next week there's not going to be a show, but then I'll be back on my regular schedule, after that. So that's really why I'm doing like two in a row. I mean, I still would like to hello HR, hello. I still would like to just like keep my alternate schedule. Just because I don't know, it just works out better for me than doing like a vlog every week and then a live stream every week. And one of these days I'm gonna have to fit in. I'm just gonna have to sit down and force myself to finally put together my Monster Erotica vlog video. I have it all set up, but I just hadn't had the time to get to it. There's just been so much going on, and I've just had to make sure that everything is prioritized the way it is to make sure that I do everything. And that video just isn't a priority right now. So, oh my goodness. So, yes. So thank you everybody for joining me in the chat. And yes, I see you, my beautiful eyeball people watching from regions beyond. If you are joining me from YouTube, feel free to also join us in the chat as well. And while you're here, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever any of my shows go live. And if you are joining me from Twitch, hello. Hello again. So I guess I might as well get the official introduction going. Hello, everyone. My name is Daphne Lage, and I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York. I have been self-publishing comics since 1992, and you know what that means.
You really want to know my process? Absolutely. Usually starts with a holla and ends with a creamsicle. And then if there's time in between, Thundercats. Ho!
And I am the artist for the Furry Fantasy Adventure Tall Tales and the creator of Eager Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, a medieval fantasy drama you can read online at egoworks.com. That's EGOWORKS. Also, if you are following the Kickstarters for Eager Raven, the pre-launch for Eager Raven issue 12 is in the chat. So you can head on over to Kickstarter and you can click that notify me button so that you get notified when the campaign goes live. I'm currently working on issue 12 right now, so I don't have an exact date as to when I will be releasing it, but even more of a reason to go click that notify me button. I am also co-host with Nina Lanning on the Rage Into the Vlogs show every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, where we talk about life, comics, and everything else in between, which might not have anything to do with anything, but we talk about it anyway. And last but not least, if you want to check out any of my previous vlogs or live streams or anything like that, you can check out all my videos on how I make my comics here on YouTube at my channel at Daphne Lage, Lage Art. And like I said, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and give a little comment. It's like, do you like these things? Just leave me a little comment, a little emoji in the comment section. Just to, just to do something, I guess. I don't know. I mean, if you're watching the live now, technically it would make more sense to talk in the chat. But, if you're catching this on the replay, welcome. And yeah, so there we go. Oh my goodness. So yeah, it's been a little busy as I'm trying to catch up on everything. And like I said, get my schedule all together. And let's see. So what are we going to be working on today? So actually today, I want to work on, I guess I want to showcase some work on my Wacom Movink 11 tablet, but I got a little distracted before the show. So the last time we were here, last Wednesday, and we talked about it a bit on the vlogs too. We were talking about watching some creators, do some animation in AI. And, I had said that the reason why I wouldn't use AI to do that is because I couldn't fix the mistakes. It's like, that I would rather learn how to do animation myself. And honestly, animation's actually not that difficult. It's just time consuming, right? And I would rather do that and know that it's like, okay, if there's any mistakes or anything, I know that, it's just a skill issue that I can but I can still go in and fix it, as opposed to if an AI does it, I'm pretty much just whatever trash it's giving me, that's what I get. So that reminded me, well, actually, even before that, right? So, well, it did kind of remind me of something. It's like, oh, wait a minute. It's like, I kind of do have this little animated sequence that, that I did initially for my comic. And then Mike Jimmy liked it so much that he wanted to do more in-betweens for them, because he's teaching himself animation. Mike Jimmy from Fairies and Ents. He's literally doing an entire animated episode by hand. I think he's been working on that thing for 2.5 years. And it's like, and he wanted, I guess, as a break to practice in-betweening using the sequence that I had done. So I just began, so I was just remember, it's like, oh, it's like, where did I save those files? It's like, I remember, it's like, I remember him sending them to me. Where did I save them? Because eventually I would like to be able to finish that sequence, do a full animated sequence of it. But, and then I was watching Visenia on her channel on Twitch, and lo and behold, she's doing an entire animated sequence. I go there, and she's doing an animated sequence on her channel. I guess like she's doing like what do they call those? A stinger or something? I don't know. It's like so and then it's like she's showing like how to do animation in Clip Studio, and she was nice enough to post up this really short but very potent animation tutorial on YouTube. Really, it's like 6 minutes, but it's like, oh snap, it really is that easy. Like I said, it's easy, but it's easy in terms of okay, I can do this, but where it gets kind of complicated is actually drawing out the sequence, because depending on what you want the characters to do, I mean, like a very simple short sequence could be like 18 frames. And in this particular case, it's kind of, so I have so when I was doing this particular issue, we're skipping ahead a little bit for the context of this story, right? So this is a page that let me switch it over. Right? Actually, no, not yet. Let me not switch it over yet. So when I was laying out Eagle Raven and sketching the entire series out, all 16 issues, there was a particular scene I absolutely knew I wanted to put into the story, but I wasn't sure like how I was going to pull it off. And the reason I was really intent on putting this scene in was because I was very inspired by, of course, Wendy Pini's work on ElfQuest. And there was a particular sequence in here. Now, that kind of like struck me, that it's like, it's like I would really like to try something like that, on, in my own book. And it's this. So this is the third volume. Siege at Blue Mountain is the other story. What was this one called? I forgot what this was. Something Blue Mountain. So let me see. I think this was like back when they weren't titling the individual like story arcs essentially. So, but that's not important, right? So Wendy, because she does have a minor background in animation, she worked with Ralph Bakshi for a little bit. Actually, no, she not for a little bit in terms of like she worked with the guy for a couple of years, and she did some work on Wizards and Lord of the Rings uncredited, and she did some comic strip work with Bakshi, right? So there was this particular scene where she did this kind of like this little animated sequence right here, right? And I knew, like I said, this had kind of like stuck in my head, and I had wanted to do something similar to this, right? Very inspired by this, obviously not exactly, but I liked the idea of having like this kind of like pseudo animated sequence on the page. For those of you who grew up with Calvin and Hobbes, you know that that was a staple of the strip as well, that there would sometimes be like these little animated sequences of Calvin and Hobbes dancing, and there have been people who have taken those panels and like just put them together and animated them. So I'm always a fan of that little thing, and I wanted to do that for my book, for especially this very particular scene. So like I said, we're jumping a little bit ahead. I know I've spoken about this before, because I'm pretty sure some of you remember, when I first talked about this. And so let me put this here. So this is a page from Eagle Raven issue 13. And and here, so it's a sequence of Eagle Raven and Daniel dancing. So it's not just, and so technically I'm not drawing out one character doing something in a sequence, but two characters, right? And this is what the final layout for this page looks like. And, I have this sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have this sequence of 10 frames essentially, just to make this one comic book page, right? Because I don't know. I think that for a scene that where movement is incredibly important. I really wanted to get that across. And what better way than an animated sequence, right? But animated in the loose sense of the word, right? Because obviously this is a still page, right? So it took me a while to actually plan out this page, because I had to watch a lot of videos on like competitive ballroom dancing to actually figure out like a sequence, like a sequence of movements that would make sense in a short amount of time. So it's like I must have spent hours watching videos and sketching and like trying to like put together something that looks animated without it being animated. And in the end, it's like I ended up with this, like I said, this sequence of 10 frames that served the purpose that I had wanted. So this is the page. Of course, I've yet to ink it, but that comes later. Like I said, I'm working on issue 12 now, so very soon I'm going to be working on this page. And and the thing is that when I actually get to this page, the idea is to have each of these frames individually done separately. I have the sequence laid out, and what I want to do is I want to ink and color the sequence and then take those pieces and then place them down, because after seeing what what the layout actually looked like, I was like, oh, you know what? I kind of wonder, I kind of wonder, like if I could actually animate this. Like it's a 10 frame sequence. It should be enough to look like something, right? So just out of curiosity, and I had done this before, and I'm like I said, it's like I'm pretty sure some of you watching already know this sequence. But in Photoshop, you can make animated things. You can make animated GIFs or whatever. So what I did was I brought in the frames. Where's my timeline? I brought in the frames that I drew. And remember, it's like this was meant to be kind of like a static animation. I didn't really make this to be animated, but if it works, right? So, okay, so we have our 10 frames, and I played around with it for a bit, and I got it, and I got it to a speed that I like, and this is what happens. So this is what happens when I just run the sequence. And like even in this very, very rough stage, I mean, I'm just completely chuffed by this, And it's like, okay, so when I finally ink this, right, what I want to do is I want to take the sequence of 10 and and it's like, and just do an actual animated piece with this, just animate it so that it's in color and it looks nice. And I'm actually looking forward to doing that, right? So after I showed off this little thing, right? So Mike Jimmy contacted me, and he said that if he could take, like, if I could send him the sequence of 10, and so that he could in between it, to relax, like he took it as a challenge to, like, to put in the in-betweens. And it's been a while since, cause he worked on it a little bit, and then he had to go back to his own animation. So it's not, it's not really complete. right? But I was looking for it because I haven't looked at it in a while, because it's like, if he's in betweening, what I want to do is like, okay, so we have this set of 10, but it's like, well, what if I add in his in betweens, right? So I found his file. I thought that there was going to be like a Clip Studio file. I could have sworn there was one. I don't know if I lost that file or not, but either way, I was able to import this into Photoshop, into the timeline. And, this is kind of like, so this is like what he was doing. He was doing like, like it literally in betweens. Like, I think it was like, it's not that he wanted to finish the sequence. He just like completely, I guess he just wanted to see if he could just in between it. Right. And now, mind you, from my 10, this particular sequence has 66 frames. So the original one has 10 frames, and now with the in-betweens, it has 66 frames. And in the end, that's really, that's really what takes time with animation. So I put it in, and then I put in, so this is what, he was doing. So this is what it looks like. This is the work that he did. Which is like it's just really funny how you could it's not complete, but you could see what the difference the in-betweens do. Right? So, again, it's like just looking at this again, it's like, oh my God, it's like, I would have to finish this. So it's like going from 10 frames to 66 frames, but you see the difference that those extra frames do, right? And, and it's like, it's rough, but, like I said, it's like, I'm so enchanted by it, that, this being, it's kind of like, this is like a collaborative piece, and it's just like, I don't know. It's like, I just really, like AI, sure, could I dump this into an AI and it could finish the shit for me? Yeah, but like I said, what's the fun in that? For me, that doesn't mean anything. I'm not, it's like, right. It's like, that's the thing though. That's how I feel about this, HR. I mean, that's kind of like the point of, why, why in the end, it's like, as much as I was tempted, it's like in the end, it's like I have no use for it, because it's not, that's not the point of what I want to use it for. Like I said, I want to use, try to use AI for data aggregation. It's like to do bullet points for me, to put together, just like information, right? Not do this. I'm not interested in it doing this. I want to do this, because, the fact, it's really funny because it's like, because it's like magic, yeah, like there's something about the fact that me and Mike Jimmy spent time to do this that for me makes it worthwhile than somebody who just dumps their artwork into Grok and then or OpenAI or Sora, whatever the fuck they're using, and just spitting out whatever. It's like there's, it's like that stuff doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't do anything to me. It's like, it's kind of like, to kind of paraphrase Guillermo del Toro, it's like, congratulations, you made a compelling screensaver. um, and it's like, honestly, it's like, and I'm not interested in appealing to people who just see, this shit as like a meme factory. It's like, I'm not here to impress guys who are using AI to make fucking memes with their faces in it. It's like, it's ridiculous. Like, these are people who don't know what they're looking at, and I'm not interested in teaching them what they're looking at. Um, So, so it's like, so it was just like kind of nice to see this. And and to be reminded that's like, oh wait, snap, I could do this. I could do this. I don't need it. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, I'm here being intimidated by animation. And then it's like, oh wait, no, I've done this before. There's no reason for me to be intimidated. I can just do this, right? So, so I was just like trying to figure out like, like, oh, what sequence would be nice to do. Because, and like I said, no matter what like what I decide to do, it's going to take a little bit of time. Like I said, it's like just to do what I did took 10 frames. I mean, maybe I should stick to something that short, it's like just do like a nice little loop, and just figure that out. So but yeah, it's like yeah, that's limited animation like Scooby-Doo and Hanna-Barbera, where it's like they only animated like very particular things. um and like I probably want to try something like really simple, like just like, you know just like animating hair or something, like, hair in the wind. That seems to be like, okay, it's like at least that I could do something like that where it's like very limited, but it's just like one part of the body, moving. Um, Also, the other thing that I have done is done PNG tubers, which is kind of similar, where it's like you're animating. Like I only had to like do a variance for the mouth, just to get it started, and then what I've done is that like as I learned more how to do that, I was animating more body parts, like the ears or a tail or the hair. And it's like, okay, so it's like as long as I like kind of keep the build up slow, like I'm not going to confuse myself, because that's kind of um what I was always afraid, like kind of like, oh, I'm going to end up confusing myself. But the funny thing is like I did this without, without even thinking about it. It's like, okay, I was just doing this to put it on a static page. And then before I knew it, it's like, oh, snap, I have an animated sequence. I really didn't think about it. Like I said, I was watching all these ballroom dance videos and sketching, and before I knew it, I had this. So and honestly, this is actually pretty complicated because, like I said, it's two characters. Um, so so that's just like kind of like I said, I got distracted way before, like before the show. Um, but yeah, it's like, hold on, let me just change this. So yeah, so that's, so that's pretty much what I was like kind of like playing around with, and just like remembering, right, that it's like, oh, it's like, I really don't need AI to do this, and I don't care to. It's like I didn't need it before, I don't need it now. So it's like I can draw my own shit. So that's in the end, it's like that's how, I'm pretty much just wiping my hands of that conversation. Um, it's like I heard some very, very interesting talking points recently that made me want to use it even less, more out of spite. you know, um, because it's like there was this conversation where like there were two things that stood out in this conversation. One, the fact, well, the fact that artists' opinion on the matter didn't matter, and that I was very foolish to think that artists were important at all in anywhere in this conversation. It's like, oh, I don't know, stupid me. I mean, they only built $1 trillion industry on our backs, stupid me to think that we had some importance. We were obviously important enough that they had to steal all of our collective artwork. So I don't know. That was my interpretation of it. So, um, but then later on in the conversation, there was this really funny accusation where like, well, because artists refuse to work with AI, it's going to stunt the technology. And I go, well, one, are we important or not important? Because you kind of specifically said before that we weren't important. Now you're saying we're so important that AI can't develop because artists refuse to use it. And honestly, it I don't know. It couldn't have been more clear to me at that moment, because the only thing that popped into my head when, was that meme that goes, then perish, then perish, you know, and it's like, you know what? It's like, nah, I don't need to use it. I don't need to use it for art at all. And, and it's going to stay that way. I'm going to use it for what it's good for, which is data aggregation. That's it. You know, it's like, that's what it's for. It's like, you know, that's it. There's no reason for me to use it for anything else. Why? Because I can do this shit on my own. I can do this shit on my own, and you know, and I don't need a machine. It's like I don't need a machine to do it for me. It's like that's, and especially one as, questionable. It's like, and you know what? It's like, look, that's it. Then perish. If AI needs me to enhance, to move the tech, it can die right now. It's like, look, just be the glorified Google that you are. Just be the glorified Google that it really is. Go find cancer before it develops 5 years before it shows up on a mammogram. That's fine. Go do that, right? But doing my animation for me, nah, I'm good. I'm good. So yeah, so that's kind of like where my head is at right now. Oh my goodness. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like, hold on. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I'm going to open up the window a bit so get some air in here. It's very stuffy. Hold on. Even though it's like, what is it, like 30, 40 degrees outside? But, you know, uh, it gets very warm in here. When I don't want it warm, it gets freezing. When I want it warm, it doesn't. It's this it's a greenhouse in here. But okay. So let me just. Where's my cursor? Okay, so what am I doing here? What am I showing? Desk. There we go. So in the previous episode, I've spoken about my new Wacom Move Inc. 11. And what's funny is that it was supposed to be something that I thought what I would use side by side in conjunction. Well, that I would use in conjunction with my Wacom on my table. I have yet to really go back to using my Cintiq. That's the thing. It's exhausting to draw it all. I couldn't do it. I haven't the energy for animation. Yeah, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. That's why when I actually go in to do something, I do have to plan out what exactly I'm going to do and how many frames it's going to take for me to do it. I think that what Mike Jimmy is doing is just like, that's dedication. Like I said, he's been working on this animated short for like 2.5 years. He's self-animating it. And it's like, yeah, it requires a certain dedication, but I think that it's the effort that gets put into it. I mean, that's You see, that's where I'm going. Yeah, it's like I'm probably going to do more of that Hanna-Barbera style, that the PNG tuber type of thing. Than try to do like, a Don Bluth full sequence or something. It's like, because I've seen people do that. I've seen people take like a sequence, a short sequence from like whatever. This one was from Don Bluth, one of the movies. I don't remember if it was Anastasia or something. And all they did was trace on top of what he did already to kind of teach themselves animation. And I think it still took them 6 months. Like the sequence was done already. They were just drawing their characters on top of the sequence, but it still took them either 4 or 6 months to do it. So no, it's like, but that's what I like about PNG Tuber. Doing a PNG Tuber, I used the program Honk. Is that once you make all the different lip movements, then it animates it for you depending on how you're talking, which I really liked that. So I guess it depends on what you're trying to get out of, try to get out of the sequence that you're trying to do, right? So let me just log in here. So here is my Wacom. Like I said, I haven't gone, well, no, this is my moving, right? And I haven't used my Cintiq since I got back. Everything has been, I just been doing everything on this tablet. Honestly, if I had been able, that's also the other thing too, that like you just like kind of start animating very slowly other parts of the body, right? Like it's like you said, Hanna-Barbera style, right? So and yeah, so it's like I've been just working exclusively on this since I got back, because as much as I was trying to get my Cintiq, if I had gotten my Cintiq to act exactly the way it is, I'd be on my Cintiq, right? Because it is a larger screen and I would have liked to do it. But the problem is that it seems that the Cintiq, the 16 Pro that I'm using, it's glitchy when it comes to the touch feature. Like it's supposed to have a working touch feature, but it's incredibly glitchy. And from what I've read, it's very difficult to get it working. I guess like it has some kind of conflict with Windows, and you can't get the touch screen to work correctly. So because of that, yes, Ephraim, it's Life on Quora. Yeah, Life on Quora. That's Mike Jimmy's thing. So I wasn't able to get this to work with touchscreen the way I was able to get it to work here. So because of that, I've just been doing my pages on this screen. I mean, it's 11 inches compared to the 16 inches that I have on the Cintiq. But because of the way the touchscreen works, I would have never have noticed. Oh my goodness, so good. There are moments I'm glad Nina's not here. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to the other screen. Okay, so we're going to go here, right? And let me see. Let me turn the Cintiq off. What am I doing here? Desk. Okay, so there we go. So there's a Cintiq, and we're going to be just working on this. So also so that you all can get kind of like a feel for like how I work on this, as opposed to like, working on like a Cintiq or working on the moving. What I like best about working on the moving is that all my shortcuts are on the screen. So like this tab right here, this strip right here, this represents a keyboard. So I'm able to use all my keyboard shortcuts without having a keyboard. which is a game changer for me because it makes it like very streamlined. I literally just have to use one hand, and I just have to, again, I just have to just use the tablet. I don't need a keyboard on the side here to control everything. So, you know, it keeps its portability. I only have to carry this. I don't have to pull out a keyboard just to do the shortcuts. Hold on, let me just change. There we go. Okay. So let me just, now that we have that set up, let me just move. Okay, there we go. So let me just move that. So, okay. So at least this way I can see. I'm now on the other screen, so I can see everybody's comments. Okay, so let me start the music. Now that we're going to start. It's like I'm competing with it. Just tell me and I'll lower the volume. So, okay, so what I'm working on, this is page 20 from issue 12. I have, after this, I'll have 19 pages left to finish the issue. That's why, you know, I have the pre-launch page up, because I'm not sure how long it will take for me to finish this issue. So I would rather just everybody go to the pre-launch page rather than like try to guess a launch date. So at least that way, if you're signed up, again, link is in the chat. You'll get an email that'll notify you when the campaign goes live. So, and of course, I'm going to be telling everybody once the issue's done, right? So yeah, okay, hold on. Let me just set up, make sure I'm on the ink layer. Yeah, okay. And, and also what I like is that, like, when I'm inking, I could just close off the side layers here, which gives me more room. And also, by closing it, I'm not accidentally pressing stuff. Because the touch screen is sensitive. So even though I have like every superfluous option turned off, sometimes I can still like accidentally press things. So at least this way, if I'm on my ink layer, I can just close the tab so that, and then just work, without worrying about anything. So yeah. So, another conversation that you see, like something like that, sometimes it jumps because I accidentally press something, but I kind of think that's less annoying than when I was putting stray marks, because I had to shut off the option to use finger as tool. So then that way I'm not like accidentally putting dots all over my piece and then having to like go back and find everything and erase it. It's very annoying until I shut that option off. So one of the conversations that I was having about this whole thing, I mean, on one hand, I really don't want to talk about AI more, but the thing is that it did trigger a couple of conversations that I thought in and of itself was interesting. And one of them was the whole idea of like the type of people who we see using, AI for artwork, and how it seems to correlate with how they feel about the idea of paying for artwork. Because honestly, it's like, aside from an interview, or no, interview that I saw with the head, I guess like it was the lead animator from one of the Into the Spider-Verse. I think it was the first Into the Spider-Verse movie. And they were talking about how they were using AI to do in-betweens, or at least to help them with in-betweens, so that they could take those people who would have been stuck doing in-betweening to do other animation tasks and be able to do those tasks at a higher level, because they didn't have to sit there doing the tedious work, like in between, like anything in animation isn't tedious, but like, I guess that there's certain jobs that it's like, you know what, if we can get you doing something else and be able to put more time into something else than doing this, in between, that's what we would rather you do. And that was pretty much the only time that I've heard like somebody say this is AI as a tool. That's the only time, right? Because everywhere else that I would hear, like people using, it's like, oh, they made AI covers, or they did this or that, in terms of, oh, we used AI artwork. The main reasoning that they do that for is that, well, I'm broke and I can't afford an artist, or yeah, I can afford an artist, but why should I? Why should I pay for an artist if I don't have to? So pretty much the whole basic, their whole reasoning behind using AI is not necessarily as a tool, but as a way to not pay people. And it's like, well, that's kind of strange, And and it's like, and of course, as an artist, I'm biased, but you know what? So are the people who argue for AI. They're just as biased too. If their bias is not having to deal with artists, or that's a bias. It's like, it doesn't make their their argument any more rational or less rational. It's like, it's like, I don't like the idea of my skill being flattened out in a computer program, so that you don't have to deal with me. And they don't like the idea of having to deal with me. That's what that's what the arguments, seem, the rationales seem to boil down to. That it's like, I have a right to not pay for your work. Essentially, that's what it boils down to. And it made me kind of like think about, like, if I can resent AI for anything, is more for the fact on how it revealed how many people really do resent artists and the idea of having to pay artists for something that they want. It's kind of like, you want to Louis Vuitton, or and complaining that's like, why should I spend $1,500 on a suitcase or purse when I can go down to Chinatown and get a bootleg for like $100? And it's like, nobody in the Louis Vuitton store is going to try to convince that person otherwise. All they're going to do is say, well, I'm sorry that you're poor. That's it. It's like, I'm sorry you have no money. I'm sorry you can't afford this. I'm sorry that you're obviously not our target audience, right? I mean, nobody in a Louis Vuitton store is going to sit there trying to beg this person, no, we'll give you. It's like, oh, no. It's like, don't do that. It's like, here, it's like, we'll give you all these discounts and blah, 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 and this, that. It's like, no, fuck that shit. They're going to like go, all right, so go. Right? And and I'm kind of, and I realized that it's like, like buying, like people who, who it's like are saying, it's like, oh yeah, I use, AI to make artwork so that I don't have to, oh, because artists are so expensive. And it's like, in the end, instead of being upset about it, I mean, I think in the end, it's like, I'm like, okay, all right, good for you. Love that for you, you broke ass bitch. It's like, okay. It's like, you'll pay $60 a month for access to Sora, right? But no, you can't pay an artist, you know, to do shit who will actually do shit for you, you know? And it's like, and again, it's like, you know, it's to kind of like realize, like how strange it is that they came into a space that required them to work with artists, that requires them. I mean, you're in comics, right? There is no angle you can come into comics and go, well, I don't want to work with artists. Like, why are you here, right? But that's kind of the attitude that this technology has kind of made people comfortable, saying, that it's like, well, I don't want to work with, I want to do a comic, but I don't want to work with artists. I don't need to work with artists anymore. I could just go to, AI and just, put together whatever slop it gives me, and there you go. I have a book. And it's like, why are you here? It's like, really? It's like, I don't know. It's like, I guess like a cruder analogy is like walking into a brothel and complaining, why should you pay for sex when you could just masturbate on the floor? It's like, why are you here? So, so the thing is though, so of course, understandably so, it's like artists have, um, you know, are having a hard time, with this, that it's like, holy shit, it's like, here I am studying this craft, right? To the best of my ability. And like, there's these schmucks who think that they're just entitled to it. What's like, well, if you're not going to give it to me for free or whatever, I'm just going to use AI. And again, it's like, what the fuck are you here for then? And then it's like, I think about like, what absolute insecurity do you have that, and most of these people don't say this, like, it's like, oh, you know, um, that's like, oh, I don't want to pay for artists, right? We're not talking about people who are drawing, we're not talking about artists using this. We're talking about, we're talking about, mostly what, because this is a thing, writing circles as well, where authors say that, well, I don't want to pay for an artist, they're so expensive, so I'm just going to use AI. And the funny thing is that one of the selling points of AI is like, oh, it allows me to imagine anything I want, right? And then the shit they come out with is some just basic bitch shit. It's like they're giving you the artistic version of pumpkin spice latte. It's like, really, you can't. It's like, why don't you AI a Stanley Cup while you're at it? You're so basic. Like, really, you couldn't come up with anything? Like, that's the extent of your imagination? But that's just me being a catty bitch. So, where was I going with this? So, so it's like, yeah, so it's like, so they're, HR, HR says, in some scenes in the movies, there will be butterflies, birds, spider. We will go as cheap as possible, so AI is our option for it, but it is a long way to arrive there, even if we get it made. I mean, yeah, because look, if it's one thing that I definitely keep reading and analysts have said, is that the technology doesn't work the way these guys want us to believe it works. I mean, that's the thing. They said that we are very far off from it being the automated workflow they were promising, because they were trying to sell it before everyone figured out the scam, right? But yeah, it's still, and the thing is, though, because they've lied so much about what the AI can do, that honestly, it's like everyone keeps saying, oh, 10 years and 10 years and 10 years. It's like, isn't it funny how everything's in 10 years? Like, we were supposed to be on Mars in 10 years, right? Like, everything with these tech guys is, it's like in 10 years, right? And it's like, what is it with that number, right? So it's like, no, not in 10 years. And that's, that's the reality, right? So, oh, great. What was my, where was I going with this? So, right. So it's like, like I said, like the main thing that people using AI, non-artists who use AI, is that, I don't want to pay an artist. I'm broke, right? Like, being broke entitles you to stuff, which kind of leads me to the title, right? And, hey, Grant, like, and like, it's like, like, I'm broke, so I should be entitled to artwork. And it's like, no, if you're broke, just like you're not entitled to own a Lamborghini, you're not entitled to own artwork just because you're broke, and all AI does is scream that you're a broke ass bitch. Because like I said, I have yet to hear anybody really give me any other type of reasoning other than that for using AI artwork. Because look, we're going to have to face the reality that AI as a workflow solution in businesses, that's a whole other issue. Like I said, it's like using the full version of these AI things at like $60 a month. So I don't know. Like, they can afford $60 a month, but they can't afford finding an artist. Especially since I've seen Jose find artists for $60. Like spectacular artists for $60. So either they don't want to put in the, I mean, it's a skill issue. It's an effort. Actually, it's more of an effort issue. They want everything to be convenient. So, okay, hold on. Let me just open up the other layer so I can put in his flats. Here, I think I'm done inking with this character. So let me just put in. So, let's see, so here's the thing though. So it's like, yes, are artists salty about this shit? Yes, we are. Even when it doesn't affect me directly. It's like, look, I do my comics myself. I do my work myself. So I'm not, there's nothing to replace, it's like, I don't have to worry about, it's like, it's not replacing me. It can't do what I do. And, I'm not worried about that. So technically it's not going to affect me. I mean, the thing is, though, is that, like, what I was saying, though, is like, look, I understand that we have to accept the fact that AI is going to be the new foundational workflow for businesses. You know, and I'm not talking about art at this point. I'm just talking about, you know, that, you know, like I said, it's a glorified Google. They're going to be using AI, you know, to consolidate information, to find information, to like run processes, you know, pretty much what this shit was meant to do. The only thing is that, again, it's like what they promised it could do and what it actually does are two different things, because they say that, I was reading how AI is nowhere near being able to automate from beginning to end. It's nowhere near that. You know, so okay, hold on. Let me just go back to my other layer. Now we're going to start putting in the shading. Oh, and this is the thing that I like too. So like I said, this bar here is like the keyboard, right, for your shortcuts. So when I'm using, like, if I was using my Cintiq, right, I would have to use the keyboard in order to select multiple items at the same time, so that I'm not like doing areas one by one. This way I could select everything at once and then do a fill in those areas at once. So I don't have a keyboard. So all I have to do is go here. I'm on the layer that I need to be, right? So all I have to do is press shift right here. So I just activated the little shift button, right? Now the catch is that you cannot close this while you're using it. So sometimes I have to be careful that I don't accidentally close it or push another button. So I'm hit shift, and then I go to my lasso tool, right? And then now, you know, I can, you know, do my selection for the shading, right? And then instead of having to like do shading one at a time, one piece at a time, I could just go ahead and start adding to that selection. So now I could just add selection, and I didn't need a keyboard for it. When I realized this could do that, I was like, done. I'm done. This is my main machine practically. You know, I was really disappointed that I couldn't get the Cintiq to imitate this. But you know, I'll take what I can. You know, so yeah, so you know, AI as a workflow solution, which that it's like, okay, fine, we're gonna have to get used to that, because in the end, that's where we're actually seeing the application of AI. Now the thing is, though, the problem is that these tech companies want to sell this technology to movie studios, but movie studios are not having it. So that's where the problem is arising. You know, it's like, in the end, the only reason they made AI accessible to the average person is because, one, you're free research and development, right? And you're paying $60 a month for it, or $30 a month, or whatever. You know, it's like so they're trying to make up the money with the average person using this stuff. You know, because they have to make their money somewhere, because they're not getting the results that they want from the big companies that were their original targets. Now, well, where am I going with this? Yeah, where am I going with this? Oh, right. So, you know, so because it's accessible to the average person, right? Now, I know last week we were talking about, you know, it's like, you know, like, does the average person care, right? It's like, honestly, it's like, when it comes to our audiences, the average person is not our audience. So it doesn't matter if they care or not. They're not the people we're catering to. If you're doing indie comics, right. Um, so, but what it did was that, so, like I said, so what happens is that the technology allowed people to feel very confident in pretty much broadcasting how much they actually dislike artists. It's not that they don't understand what we do. They just resent the fact that we have something they want and they don't, and they have to pay for it. But somehow their withholding money is more accepted than us wanting to make money on this. Like, I had posited that AI for creative work would have been more accepted if these tech bros worked with artists first. If we became the first adopters, and then they moved it into the public sphere, right? But instead, I got laughed at, saying, "Who gives a shit about artists?" And it's like, oh, that's an odd thing to say, don't you think? Again, they built $1 trillion business on our backs. Why wouldn't we be important? We're obviously important. That if they had actually created this to be an actual tool that we could utilize in our work, they would have killed a lot of birds with one stone. One, artists would have embraced it, so they wouldn't have gotten the push that they're getting now, right? Not only that, but because we're using it, we're providing more value to the program itself, because we're adjusting, we're working, we're building the program based on our creative levels, on actual creativity, right? Instead, because they thought that they could push all of us to the side, and it's like, oh, the average person doesn't give a shit, then what happens is that they ended up with a situation where the AI doesn't have enough artwork anymore to feed off of. It's only feeding off of the meme garbage that people that are bored in their offices are pumping out. And what's happening is that it's tainting, it's polluting their base model. It's polluting their source, essentially. They're not getting they're not getting actual art to constantly upgrade the programming, right? They're just getting garbage. And remember, the first rule of computers: garbage in, garbage out, right? So so there is this problem with lesser and lesser quality. I mean, mind you, the quality was questionable to begin with, but now it's like lesser and lesser quality as the AI cannibalizes itself, essentially, right? If they had artists available from, like if they actually worked with artists from the beginning, they wouldn't have been having this problem, because, and like I said, it's like, I was told that it's like, oh, the opinions of artists don't matter in this situation, but because you assholes don't use it, the AI, the technology is going to be stunted. And it's like, well, which is it? Are we important or we're not important? And the thing is, though, if that's the option you're giving me, then, like I said, then perish. Because I don't feel an obligation to train this, to train this technology. Why do these tech pros, why is their entitlement protected and sacrosanct, but me saying that if they had worked with us from the beginning and actually allowed us to financially benefit from this, they wouldn't be having a problem? That's me being ridiculous. It's like, it's okay if they're capitalists, but it's not okay if artists are capitalists, that we don't financially benefit off of our work. But somehow it's our responsibility to train, to develop this technology. No, it's not. No, it's not. I don't need it. Most artists worth their salt don't need it. So why should we care? You know, it's like, if this technology is moving forward anyway, okay, then whatever. You know, we'll meet you in 10 years. You know? You know? Well, what if? What if the moon was made out of cheese? Who cares? Is it happening now? No? Then I'm not going to worry about it. You know? Oh, but in 10 years. Okay, so I'll see you in 10 years. We'll circle back in 10 years. You know? You know, so again, all right, so it goes back to art as a luxury item, right? Um, so look, even though actually sociologists argue against this idea, because it's like, you know, cave people, Neanderthal, you know, the first humans, you know, along with fire, they made art. You know, so obviously art is integral to the human existence. If art wasn't important, no caveman would see the need to paint shit on a wall. Right? There's a reason why things like the LaSalle caves, or what, something like that, you know, the famous ones, right? That they really spark the imagination, right? That we're talking about people, you know, so primitive, yet they still managed to figure out how to make art. Right? So, you know, so like I said, it's like sociologists may not agree with this point, right? That nobody dies if they don't have access to art. Although honestly, now that I say that out loud, I would beg to differ too. It's like, you know what? It's like the way people act, you would think that they would die if they didn't have access to art. You know? You know, and you know, and the thing is though, is that, you know, like there was this thing that I was reading on the vlog a couple of weeks ago, where according to tax records in the United States, there are only 10,000 people that are, I guess, like I said, through tax records, are recognized as artists. Out of a nation of 300 people, only 10,000 people are artists, or at least professional artists. Oh, hey, Melissa. You know, I guess if you do graphic designers, it's 100,000 people. Comic book artists, there are seven. No, was that writers? I think there were 7,000 people that were writers or comic book artists. I don't remember which one. But you know, it was like, really, it's like we're talking about less than 0.001% of the population is part of the creative class, right? And you know, and it's like everything that surrounds you is because, you know, if we count graphic designers, let's just say, let's be generous, it's like 350 million people have what they have because 100,000 people dedicated themselves to the arts. Let's just say, yeah, there are more Melissa says there are more professional, there are more NBA players than professional cartoonists. You know, you would think it would be a privilege, right? You know, that it's like that such a small percentage of people are responsible, like 0.001% of the population is responsible for 90% of the content. that we consume every day. I mean, that's nutty. But somehow people got it in their heads that that's not worth anything. But then again, it's also, you have to question, what are the people who want this to be true? What do they gain out of that? Right? The whole thing with AI, separating the skill from wealth, right? In the end, that's what it is. They separated our skill from wealth so that they don't have to pay us. The wealth can go to them instead of us for the skill. Right? But even then, that's not really working. Right? So, the thing is that what if, I mean, now mind you, this would require a collective mind shift on the part of artists, honestly. And look, we can barely, the Graphics Artists Guild has been trying to unionize artists since the 70s, and they haven't been able to do it. So to imagine a collective mind shift in artists ever happening is like, look, that I know is a pipe dream. And so the idea is thinking of what we do, of our skill, of what it takes for us to learn our skills, as the equivalent of an Hermes bag, a Birkin, right? So it's like a Birkin is a particular bag from Hermes, which is a French luxury brand. And this is the bag that for some reason rich people cannot go, they go out of their fucking minds trying to get these bags because they're made in very limited quantity. And they're expensive, right? Especially on the secondary market. Oh yeah, Lou says, I've lost count of the times I've been asked to create art for free because I enjoy doing it, so it's not like work. Hey, you know what else I like doing for free? Collecting money. I love collecting money. I love that even more. I mean, really, it's like, why should my enjoyment of it mean that you're entitled to it? I enjoy artwork because I enjoy artwork. It doesn't mean I enjoy doing artwork for you. That's a job. So, yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, you're, it's like, yeah, it's like, that's ridiculous. It's like, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's like loving your work has nothing to do with it, but it's like, yeah, I don't know where that stupid idea came from, that because you like something, you should be compensated less for it. And it's like, because, oh, you're getting a joy out of it. And it's like, look, joy without payment is a hobby. And I don't need you to have a hobby. If you, it's like, if you want me to work for you, do something for you, now it's a job. And you pay for a job. I mean, I don't understand why, but then again, it's like, again, that's kind of like the attitude, right? They feel entitled to artwork for some reason. So the idea is that, like, what if we collectively saw our work as not just the product of a job, right? But kind of like the equivalent of a Birkin bag. It requires a lot of skill. You need very specific people to do it. We're only 0.001% of the population can do this. You know, yes, the psychopaths are shutting us all down. They don't want artists to blossom. They don't. You know, because the creative artists have always went against the status quo. You see, artists as a collective, you know, so the idea is to kind of mash us down into the gray paste that's working for like everybody else, you know. So Melissa says we need to solve the mental health crisis first, so all of us artists can get the therapy we need to raise our self-esteem. Well, here's the thing, Melissa. What if the mental health crisis is the point, right? Because that also gets in the way of artists thinking that they have value. If every artist had great self-esteem, we wouldn't be in this situation, because it's like we would be able to like tell people to go fuck themselves collectively. You know, but instead it's like there's always a lot of talk about artists in poverty, you know, artists unable, you know, to function correctly. You know, it's like, you know, every time I go on Blue Sky, if you wanted to get, you know, there's always artists like in desperate situations where they offer like emergency commissions, but it's like they do it so often, it's like it's part of their business strategy. I mean, it's kind of like weird to say it like that, but I've seen it enough times where it's like you can time people. You can time certain artists on when they're going to drop their emergency commissions the closer it gets to when the rent is due. And, you know, as long as you have artists who are living precariously like that, you know, I mean, in the end, that's what the AI bros, the tech bros thought why they were able to get away with this. It's like, oh, no artist is the artists are not going to do anything. They're too busy being broke. You know, they're not going to fight us, but that's exactly what happened. Oops. You know, you know, but, you know, we're talking about like there's this one artist where like for the past several months, she's been offering up commissions to pay rent because her husband's out of work and can't find work, and it falls on her to make rent. But the problem is that she only charges $100 per commission. And I'm like going, you know, you could charge like 3 times the amount, do 3 times less work, right? And people would still buy the commissions. You know, I mean, that's kind of like the other thing that that goes along with the whole like the average person doesn't care. Lou says asking for free art is like asking for a free cleaning service. Come on over and clean my house from top to bottom, and if anyone comes over and mentions how clean it is, I'll tell them you did it. Oh, exposure! The top of Everest is filled with people who died of exposure. You know, littered with bodies. You know, you know, so the thing is that, you know, part of the whole, you know, like, don't worry about the average person who doesn't care, because if they don't care, why should you? You know, it's like they're not important to what you're doing. They're irrelevant to what you're doing. And I think that the people who keep insisting that you should be cheap, that you should be inexpensive, that you should be giving them shit for free, that I think that they should be made irrelevant to your process. You know, people who say this, like, oh, if you don't give me this, if you don't give me artwork for cheap, I'm going to use AI. Again, someone walking. Do you think the salespeople at Louis Vuitton care that you're going to go to Chinatown and buy a bootleg? And I think we kind of have to like pretty much raise our standard, you know, because there are people who will pay for it. And you know what? Those are the people we have to focus on. We can't focus on the people who says, well, I can't afford it, so I'm going to use AI. It's like, okay, you're not my audience anyway. You don't matter to me. You know? And, you know, so that's what I was thinking, that it's like, you know, remember when the Walmart Birkin went viral on TikTok, that someone had realized that a Walmart bag had the same design as an Hermes Birkin. So they go, oh my God, finally a dupe for a $15,000 handbag. And everybody went crazy, and it's like, and they all bought the Walmart bag, and they're all saying, it's like, ha, you see Hermes? It's like, we don't need, you know, to spend $15,000 on a bag. Do you think Hermes gave a shit? Do you think like Hermes, there was nobody at Hermes that went, oh no, Walmart has a dupe. What will we do? No, instead they went, okay, enjoy your plastic bag, pores. That's what they did. That's what Hermes did. You know, enjoy your plastic bag. We are going to continue being the standard for craftsmanship and quality for the people who will afford this, not for wannabes. You know, and you know, and it's like, and I kind of, you know, like I said, it's like I kind of wonder. It's like, what would happen if artists as a collective, like, we flipped that script and started doing that? So, oh, I can't afford your work. It's like, okay, you're not my audience then. You know, instead it's like we're kind of pushed into positions where it's like, if somebody says that to us, you know, we're almost begging them to change their mind. And it's like, I'm positing, don't beg. You know, that it's like, you know what? Okay, enjoy your plastic bag. You want to use AI? Okay, enjoy your plastic bag, poor. You know, enjoy your Walmart. Okay, great. You know, okay, you want to cater to people who shop at Walmart? That's on you. I'm catering to people who appreciate an actual skill, you know, and the time that it takes to do this work. I'm not interested in people who are just like, who have, you know, the attention span of a goldfish, less than a goldfish, you know? You know, so it's like, so yeah, so I just find that funny how it's like, for clarification, are we calling them pores or whores? There's no hoe shaming here. I mean, I guess either one could work. Like I said, I did make it the analogy early on where it's like people threatening to use, you know, like wanting, like coming into a space where they need artwork and then not wanting to pay for it is the equivalent of like going to a brothel and complaining, why should you pay for sex when you could just masturbate on the floor? It's like, why are you here? Are you lost, sir? You know, and it's like, you know, and the thing is, though, it's like, yeah, is, you know, Is it poor shaming? Sure. You know, but at the same time, it's like they're the ones saying that they're using this dubious technology because they either don't want to pay or they're too broke to pay. So it's like how am I supposed to read that? You know? It's like, you know, like I said, it's like Hermes doesn't care that you're buying a dupe from Walmart. That's not their audience. You know? And in the end, it's like, maybe that's the thing. It's like that we have to collectively go, well, you bitches are not my audience. It doesn't matter. You want to use AI? Use AI. I don't give a shit. You know? But in the end, it's like, you know what? You're not my audience. You know, if you don't want to pay for artwork, what the fuck are you doing here? You know, you need artists. You're in the indie comic space. It's in the name, comic, a combination of words and pictures, right? But you resent the fact that you have to pay for the artists. Like, what nonsense is that? Like, it makes no sense whatsoever, right? Oh, hold on, let me fill this in. You know, and and it's like, look, I'm just trying to kind of sort out my feelings with this, right? Because it's like, there's plenty, like I said, there's, you see the videos and shit. It's like, there's plenty of condescending motherfuckers who love nothing more than, oh my God, what is this with this patriotic music? It's fantasy. You know what? Fuck it. Well, it's like, you see these condescending motherfuckers try thinking that they could just put artists in their place. You know, how dare you have a skill that I cannot exploit to my advantage? And how dare you think that you can exploit your own skill for your advantage, not on my watch? It's like, why is it that it's okay for these companies to be capitalist, but it's not okay for me to be capitalist? I want to get paid for my shit. So why is that an issue? Why is that? And by the way, release the Epstein files. Oh, my goodness. Oh, where were we? Oh my goodness. Look. Look. Like I said, I'm just trying to like sort out, in the end, the issues, that I have. It's like, because in the end, it's like, look, this garbage is here to stay. This garbage is here to stay. So it's like, I think that it's important that we kind of like figure out our thoughts on it. And honestly, it's like being shamed into using AI because, just lie down and enjoy it. That's not a solution. That's not the solution. And it's not a solution that I'm interested in. It's like, I feel no need for it. I have no use for it. So like I said, I'm only using it for what it's good for, and that's data aggregation, and that's it. Because in the end, that's the workflow we're going to be seeing in businesses. So it's like, okay, fine. But you know what? I don't need to use it for artwork. I don't need to use it for, you know, for other stuff like that. I don't need for it to finish my pages. I don't need it to do this stuff, because what am I gonna, I mean, really, it's like I don't see a point to it. So, you know, although here's the funny thing, right? Because it's like the thing that these, you know, that a lot of the chatter, the tech bro chatter, right, is that, you know, artists are just, you know, they're denying the inevitable. It's like, okay, the inevitable is also that we will eventually get eaten up by the sun. But you know what? I'm not worried about that. And I'm not going to be worried about needing to use AI or not needing to use AI. You know? So I'm not going to use it for that. You know, but the funniest thing, though, is how absolutely fucking salty people who do you know, use AI, you know, for generative, you know, imagery, that they get salty when they don't have the approval of artists for it. Like, I mean, I just find it funny that it's like I said, the argument that was posited to me is that the opinions of artists don't matter. Then it's like, then why are you guys so desperate to have our approval for it? Like I said, if tech bros had worked with us from the very beginning, it would have been very easy. You know, it's a tool and we get to benefit financially from this. Yeah, sure. You know, oh yeah. The whole, Melissa says they reported that AI repeatedly kept recommending that companies get rid of their CEOs and executives to increase efficiency, and the execs are desperately trying to change that. Of course. No. You're supposed to lose your job to AI, not us. Isn't that how it always works? You know? So, you know, CEOs are a dime a dozen. Any asshole can do their job, so that means any AI can do their job. You know? You know, you know, but that's always the funny thing, where it's like they want to use AI for generative imagery, but they want an artist's approval for it. Why? If we didn't matter, why do you care whether we care? You know, whether we approve of what you're doing. So obviously you do care. You know, it's like they want to be us, but they can't hang with us, and that's a burr up their ass that they can't handle. You know, and so that's why they act the way they do. You know, it's like for some, yeah, like I said, it's like we're only 0.001% of the population. They want to be us, but they can't hang. You know, they can't. But man, do they get salty? You know, they say, "Oh, you guys don't matter anymore." Okay. So, you know, we'll just sit here judging you for it. But they get mad. They get mad when we judge them for using that shit. But at the same time, they'll say that we don't matter. Well, if we don't matter, then neither does our judgment. If our opinion doesn't matter, then neither does our judgment. But holy fuck, do they get salty over our judgment? You know? So, you know, like I said, I'm just trying to like sort out, you know, my thoughts on this. You know, and look, and I have to be, you know, honest to say that it's like there is no there is no way to have this conversation without any type of bias whatsoever. You know, and it's like, anybody who says that, oh no, I'm just having, I'm giving you rational whatever the fuck. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're just as biased not being an artist as I am being an artist discussing this. You know, especially, especially it's like when you're saying at the same time, artists are disposable, but you need us to build the technology, to push the technology forward. Like, you know, and it's like, and I think like once I heard that, I'm like, you know, I never have to worry about this again. I never do. You know, because it's like, no, I refuse. I refuse. You are not entitled to my effort to build your technology that you're the one making billions of dollars on. You didn't want to deal with us from the beginning, so you know what? You don't get to have our attention now. You know? Then perish. Then perish. You know, have your AI, cannibalize itself because everyone keeps feeding it minion memes. You know, and naked, and naked pictures of Elsa. You know, good luck with that. You know, and it's like, you know what? Oh, but in 10 years, fuck it. I'll see you in 10 years then. We'll have this discussion again in 10 years. You know, we can, you know what? In 10 years, we can have this discussion about AI on Mars. How about that? Like I said, everything is 10 years with these guys. You know? Oh my God. You know, so yeah, so that's kind of my thought process on it, that when everybody else is trying to convince you that their Walmart bag is the same thing as an Hermes Birkin, that I think all we can do is just nod politely. It's like, love that for you. Love that for you. Enjoy your plastic bag. You know? It's like, oh boy, your shirt's teaching me a lesson. You know, I mean, wait, hold on. No, here. Okay, just on the wrong layer. There we go. So yeah, so what's the moral of the story? Again, the average person who doesn't care is not your concern. And you know what? And I think in the end, the average person who decides that they're using, AI imagery for whatever, it's like that they're not your concern either. Because it's like, okay, it's like, well, what's going to happen in 10 years? I don't know. Everything will look the same. Everybody's fucking book is going to look that same rubbery, glossy, dead eye style, with big tits, really? I mean, everybody's shit's going to look the same. I mean, and then the only people who are going to stand out are the people who are actually drawing their shit. See you in 10 years, I guess, yeah, that's going to happen in 10 years, Oh, well, what if this artist starts using it or that artist starts using it? It's like, that's on them. That's on them. It's like, look, it's like if you know, in the end, does it matter? I mean, it's like, look, it's like the people on Kickstarter who are using AI and making money, they were making money before they were using AI. And, you know, just because you all of a sudden started using AI doesn't mean anything. You know? I mean, any more than like doing a TNA sketchbook is going to make you buku dollars on Kickstarter. You know, that's really not how it works. You know, I mean, this is what happens when people just really look at the superficial and they think, you know, and it's like, and they completely ignore what's actually going on. You know? You know, I mean, it's like HR says World War III could happen. Sure. You know, maybe the future, maybe we're not even in the future we're all frightened of. Memento mori. Memento mori, everybody. You know, and honestly, it's like I'm at a point where it's like the future. That's not. Is it happening now? No. Then it's kind of irrelevant. You know, asking me to imagine 10 years from now, that's like, okay, well, what if the moon was made out of pudding? You might as well ask me that. What if the moon was made out of pudding? But what happens in 10 years? What happens? It's like, I don't know. What happens if we go to Mars and there are dragons on there? I don't know. It's like, what the fuck question is that? Eventually, the person paying someone to do AI comics will realize they can get AI to do their comics. You know, I mean, it's like, I swear to God, the entire thing is like an Ouroboros. You know, it's a snake devouring its own tail. Like, I don't understand it. You know? And you know what? And maybe in the end, that's just where I should leave it, you know? That it's like, you know what? Fuck it. You know? Do whatever the fuck you want. But you better believe I'm going to judge you for it. But like I said, if you're convinced that my opinion doesn't matter, then neither should my judgment. But that's not the case either, is it? Oh my goodness. I don't know. Maybe this is just me trying to make myself feel better, you know, about all this. It's like, because, like, I don't know, like, in the end, it's just like all so meaningless. It's just like, oh, this is all so bullshitty. You know, in the end, what really are we, you know, upset about? It's like, honestly, it's like, is it really the technology that we're mad at, or is it the attitude that people seem to have been able to take with their whole chest about it? You know, and I think that in the end, I think that's the part. I think that's the part that that I think is the most upsetting. It's not the technology itself. You know, it's the fact that there are people who had no problems saying, fuck you, artists. Like, literally, just saying that. Fuck you. You don't matter. You know, it's like, fuck you, fuck your art, fuck your skill. You know, fuck your hard work. You know, I never wanted to pay you anyway. You know, and it's like, yeah, Lou says we're all sitting back with popcorn, sharpening our pencils, watching, waiting, right? And it's like, and what's funny, right, is that, like, you know, sometimes part of the argument that they try to say is like, oh, well, AI is the same thing as using Photoshop or using a tablet, right? Oh, because maybe, you know, let's test that out. Let's say, Wacom, finish my page. Well, that's weird. So nothing's happening. I thought it was the same thing. You know? So it's like, yeah, it's like, no, it's like Photoshop is not the same thing as using AI, because you actually need a fucking skill to use Photoshop. You know, in fact, Photoshop was never meant for what we comic book artists ended up using it for. Photoshop was for photos, editing photos. And it was our determination to be able to do comics in it, realizing what it could do, that we ended up using it for comics and digital comics and drawing on the computer. But we still had to do that. It wasn't Photoshop doing that. You know, me drawing on this tablet is not the same thing as someone using AI. I still have to draw this shit. Are there people who, it's like, look, are there people who think that using a tablet is, you know, it's like, oh, that's not real drawing? Well, okay, one, fuck you. And two, it's like, it's like, look, I know how to draw in a sketchbook. I know how to work traditionally. So working in a tablet is just something else for me to do. I know how to work outside of this technology. When there was a point that I thought my Cintiq was dying and I had to replace it before I got this, I thought I would have to pull out Pages again and work traditionally to get Pages done in the meantime, right? I mean, that's it. But there was nothing here that was going to do the work for me, so it's not the same thing. You know, I mean, but, you know, people love their false equivalencies, you know? They need their little gotchas. And it's like, you know what? And in the end, it's like, okay, you know, fine. Love it for that. Love you for it. You know, love that for you. Right? That's how it goes. Love that for you. You know, sure. 2 + 2 = 5. Great. Awesome. You know, because in the end, it's like, you know, that's what, I mean, in the end that I realized is that in the end, it had nothing to do with the tech itself, but the attitude it unleashed, the absolute open disrespect it unleashed, you know, and it's just like, yeah, it's a human problem. It's not the tech, it's the people. That's the problem. You know? So it's like, yeah. So I think that in the end, it's like, you know, I think after this, it's like, this should really be the last time I should be talking about this, because you know what? It's like, do whatever the fuck you want, but I will judge you for it. Oh my goodness. Hold on, where's my cursor? Let me just shut off this music. We're just about at the end of the second hour. You know, but you know, so this was me working on my little Wacom Move Ink tablet. Like I said, if I could have gotten my Cintiq to do the touch screen the way this does, I mean, it would have been perfect. But there's, I guess, like an in-program glitch that no one's been able to figure out. Like, I would have to get the brand new one, the Cintiq. Well, if I wanted an actual touch screen, I would have to get the 24-inch. I see. Lou says, I'm having a hard time seeing AI where I didn't expect it to be. Well, yeah, they're shoehorning it in everywhere. You know, I mean, because they have to. Because it's like they need the average person to kind of like create this manufactured consent. But the thing is, though, is that the average person is just going to make meme trash on it. You know, what they really want is to kind of like, I guess what they're trying to do is trying to like corral artists into a situation where we feel forced to use it. But I think as long as, because remember, they benefit more from artists using it than the average person. You know, making minion memes, you know, on it. You know, it's like they need artists to use this shit. But they've burned up whatever goodwill they could have had making a tool for us that we would have been happy to have used and adapted, you know, but they made their choice. They made their choice. And I think that in the end, people have to make their choice too. Artists are either important or they're not important. You know, and if we're not important, then why are you so tight about how we're reacting to this? Why are you so tight? I thought we didn't matter. Apparently we do. But now it's a little too late for that, you know? You know, so now it's like, well, like I said, I think it has, I think in the end, it has more to do with the attitudes that have come to the surface. You know, people saying whatever quiet part out loud. That has bothered me more than the actual technology in the end. You know, but in the end, it's like, it's actually really not my problem. Like I said, it's like AI can't do what I'm doing, you know, and what I'm trying to get it to do, it's actually pretty bad at. Like, you can't ask it to do any type of creative writing whatsoever. It's awful. It's awful. Can I get it to do bullet points and shit? Yeah, sure. You know, you know, but yeah, Lou says that she's learning Procreate Dreams animations so she can create, like, yes, I'm learning Procreate Dreams animation so I can create my own moving art. Yeah, that's the, you know, that's the animated stuff that I was showing before. That's like, I accidentally made animation. Here I am fussing about, oh, animation takes so long, and it's like, and I accidentally made it. All it took was 10 frames, you know. So it's like, why not continue that? You know, like I said, it's like, you know, at least I'm learning something. At least we're learning something by teaching ourselves to do this, as opposed to just dumping it in a program. You know, like just dumping it in an AI generator and having to eat shit on what it spits out. You know, so like I said, it's like, you know, in the end, it's like, I think that as artists, we just going to have to, like, kind of block, like, really, no, I'm seriously, you know, like learn to block all that commentary out, you know, and it's like, and pretty much go, it's like, oh, if I'm not important, then, you know, okay, I'll see you in 10 years. We'll follow back. you know because, like, the one thing that I really thought about is that when the general population is using, you know, AI for everything, what are rich people going to start collecting and making valuable in response? You know, because, you know, rich people, they love doing whatever the opposite, the hoi polloi is doing, right? Because they need to keep that separation, right? They need, what's going to be, is original art going to be the next status symbol? You know, if broke people cannot afford artwork, then it stands to chance that artwork will be the status symbol. You know, having original artwork is going to be the status symbol. Being able to pay an artist is going to be a status. We never get out of the patron system, do we? We never get out of that. You know, that it's like, when everyone's using AI, it's the person who's able to keep a stable of artists working. That's going to be the new status symbol, because that's how this shit works. Oh, only poor people use AI. You know, Yeah, we can laugh about it now, but that's exactly that's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. You know, that's exactly what's going to happen. You know, so we'll circle back in 10 years, see what happens. Oh my goodness. So hold on, let me just put myself together back again. Hold on. Okay? So that's correct, and that's correct. Okay. I was just, you know, it's a little awkward moving everything between the two screens, but oh my god. Oh, you did what kind of like that? What we were talking, me and HR were talking about before, about doing the little Hanna-Barbera animations because it's very limited, and it's kind of like easy to pick up, you know. That's funny. You should show that the next on Saturday. Well, when you do your stream with Sam, you know, um, so we can see it. Oh my goodness! Wow, that was ridiculous. But we had fun. In the end, that's the important thing, right? That's the important things with these. Oh my god. Oh, by the way, did I ever show you this guy? Remember, I know that I told the story about like how I spent a month trying to get the stupid Labubus, and now it's like you could just go to the store, go to the Pop Mart and just pick one up. It's dead. They're dead, right? So I ended up, I had like some extras, right? So I decided to do. If you followed me on Facebook, you would have seen this already. But I actually customized a Labubu so that it's selling my comic. You want to buy a comic? You want to buy a comic? So it's like, so it has she has my little logo on the back, and she's wearing the branded T-shirt. And it's like, I made an itty bitty comic that she's offering to you. It's like, oh, you want to buy a comic? Because in the end, it's like, what else are you going to do with these things, right? And you know what? I'm actually looking forward to going to a convention so I can just like wear it on a lanyard. Like Labubu who wants to sell you a comic. So I just thought it was. I don't remember if I showed that. I know I posted pictures of it. I just thought it was funny. Oh my goodness. So we're here at the top of the hour, a little past the top of the second hour. I think we had a lot of fun. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today and reminding me why I do this. I think I'm getting used to the earlier time. That's what it is. I think I'm getting used to it. So, so yeah. So, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me in the chat and keeping me company today. Even with the tablet, I still didn't manage to finish as much as I wanted, but that's how that goes, right? And thank you so much to my beautiful eyeball people watching from regions beyond. I hope that you got work done, as much work done, more work than I did on my tablet. I hope you got more work done than I did. But at least you're playing me in the background, and I hope I at least entertained you during whatever it is that you were doing. Maybe winding down your work day before you're about to leave, in an hour or two from work. So, yeah. So, let's see, where's my stuff? Here it is. So if you want to learn more about me and my artwork and my campaigns and all that other fun stuff. You can head on over to my main portfolio site at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS, where you can read Ego Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn for free. And remember that issue 12 is on Kickstarter on pre-launch right now, and the link is in the chat. There's also a link tree in the comments that has a link to the pre-launch as well. So make sure you click on that so that you get notified when the campaign goes live, when I finally finish the issue. But if you prefer your fantasy to be more of a furry Lord of the Rings adventure, you can follow the link on the website to Tall Tales, TAILS online.com, and you can read the archive there, which has the entirety of the Thieves Quest story arc. We have, and more of the, we have the Peacekeepers on there. We have the one-shots on there. We have the new Tears of the Mother story arc there. I'm still missing 2 issues of that. I'm looking to finish those 2 issues sometime next year so we can get that story arc finished. But in the meantime, there's probably over 1,000 pages worth of stuff in the archive for you to check out. And also, while you're on my website, oh, I don't have it here. Okay. While you're on my website, make sure you don't forget to sign up for my newsletter, where you can keep up to date with all of my new art and sketchbooks, comics, Kickstarters. And you also get a free PDF comics bundle for joining. You get to try out Ego Raven for free. You get to try out Tall Tales for free. And you also get to try out the Oswald Chronicles for free. Just for signing up for my newsletter. So if you want to keep up to date with everything that's going on. So thank you so much again, everybody, for joining me. And yeah, so I never have a really good outro for this, but you know what? It's just the same. It's like, be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today. I mean, in the end, that's all we can ask ourselves for. So thank you so much again, and I'll see you next time.
You are all weirdos. Ugh.